Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with the Wellness Way Yorkville. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the live broadcast. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. We're going to talk tonight. We have a special guest. I'm going to bring him on in just a second about popular fitness myths. There's a lot that we're going to disagree about. This is going to be interesting. This will probably ruffle a couple of feathers. But this uh, not only will we use research, but also experience of working with literally like thousands and thousands of athletes and being able to see what works and what doesn't work. And so before we bring our special guest on tonight, Connor Bass from CrossFit Exemplify Yorkville, this is going to be a treat for you guys. Just a couple of things to go over. Number one, if you're watching right now, make sure that you say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. I know that we have people right now from Montreal, Canada. That is really, really awesome. Let me know where you're watching from. And also, if you're watching the replay, just go ahead and let us know where you're watching from. And then also type in replay. So that way we know that you're catching the replay after the live broadcast. Just a couple of things coming up. I know that we have our next inflammation event here at the Wellness Way Yorkville. This is Thursday, October 19th at 6 o'clock p.m. This is an in-person event. So if you are from the Chicagoland area, make sure that you come to this one, especially if you want to be working with the Wellness Way Yorkville, myself personally. And we're going to talk about the first steps you need to do in order to start overcoming your health challenges. And it starts with inflammation. Guys, watch some of the content that we're going to be putting out over the next week or so. And it's going to talk a lot about inflammation. Guys, you will not heal if you first and foremost don't identify some of these inflammatory triggers that are going on. And if you are also watching from outside the Chicagoland area, from the contiguous 48 states, if you want to work with me remotely, just go and make sure, go to the top of the page. You'll be able to see our link tree, or you'll see a link to either register for the inflammation event in person through our Eventbrite link, or you can also register for the webinar as well. And so when you register for that webinar, you'll be able to schedule when you want to watch that webinar, either Tuesday or Saturday, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, or on Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Or if you can even watch it, if you have an hour of your time, watch it on demand. And you'll see a link at the end to be able to schedule the time for a discovery call with me. And that way we can start the process of working with. Right now, we work with people both in the office, but we also work with people remotely from all over the country. So if you are not getting answers and you're frustrated and your doctor doesn't have a plan, make sure you watch that webinar. That'll help you to understand a lot about inflammation. And then we'll be able to just start the process of looking into seeing if we can help you or not with your health condition. And then the last thing, guys, is please get your tickets. I know that we had a ton of people register just in the last day or so for the I Disagree tour with Dr. Patrick Flynn. He's going to be in Yorkville, Illinois. This is Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. It's hosted by the Wellness Way Yorkville, myself, and then also Dr. Veronica de la Cruz, who is in the Wellness Way Aurora. It's going to be at Whitetail Ridge Country Club, a beautiful venue, but from 6 to 9 p.m. Dr. Patrick's going to come and speak. Yes, he's going to speak about hormones. He's going to talk about a lot of other things as well. This is an event you do not want to miss. I know that if you're coming, please bring your spouse. That's the number one regret that people have. They say, I wish my spouse would have been here. And so get your tickets. You'll see the ticket in the link of this video, of this post. You'll also be able to get tickets if you go to the top of the page and watch, and you'll see it on Facebook. You also see a link tree that you can go ahead and click the link on and find where to register for on YouTube and also on Rumble as well. So I disagree, guys. And with that, excuse me, I know that we have been highlighting some of our sponsors of the event, some of our teammates with the event that are going to be at the event. Because remember, from 5 to 6, you're going to have an opportunity to see all of our wonderful vendors and supporters of the I Disagree tour. And we have actually a very, very, very special individual who I get behind 100%. It's Connor Bass. Connor is owner and head coach at CrossFit Exemplify right here in Yorkville, Illinois. And in fact, if you ever watch on some of my stories and you see me working out at CrossFit Exemplify, This is the man that runs and owns the gym and is a wonderful, awesome individual. I'm going to give him an opportunity to be able to introduce himself. I'm going to bring him up on the screen right now. And he's coming on right now. And Connor Bass. Connor, welcome.
Nate, hey, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I know that we've been highlighting just some of the wonderful kind of vendor spotlights, people that with our office we get behind, we support 100%, and obviously CrossFit Exemplify, we also support 100%. So I know that being an owner of a gym, just give a little bit of background about yourself, a little bit background about maybe your fitness history, like what you did in college and things like that, and how you got to the point of being a CrossFit gym owner. It's quite a story.
Yeah, it's kind of a roundabout way. My fitness history, I wrestled in college at Duke University. I was a national qualifier at 174 pounds. So I spent a long time, close to 20 years, start to finish in a wrestling career. Had a lot of great coaches and strength and conditioning trainers along the way. After college, I spent a few years in investment banking. At that time, I was doing a lot of running and calisthenics or body weight movements to try and stay fit, stay in shape, and then burned out on that to some extent and started looking for something different. Was exploring a few different paths and fell in love with CrossFit. Started to become a practitioner of that and dedicated a lot of time training, and eventually found my way into owning a CrossFit affiliate. So it it's been kind of a roundabout journey, but yeah, right now I'm a CrossFit affiliate owner here in Yorkville. We we've got classes that run 40 hours a week almost, and we've got a lot of really dedicated members that are passionate about fitness and health and staying in shape. So that's my new passion is helping them. And I was just coaching earlier tonight and looked around the gym and saw the atmosphere that we had, and all the people who were excited about working out and staying fit and being in shape. So that's motivating me right now. And yeah, I'm excited to build that gym and to grow.
Yeah, it really is. It really is interesting because there's a lot of people who they're like, oh, I've heard of CrossFit. And they're like, oh, you have? Well, tell me what you know about it. And it's like, I don't know. It's just really hard and I probably can't do it. But the reality is, so many people have told me that because I started CrossFitting when I was 33 years of age. So 13 years now. And they're like, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to get hurt. You're all of these things that people said. And I'm like, here I am 13 years later. And even in some cases, still setting PRs at 46 years of age. And so I'm guessing that what we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about like popular fitness myths. I want to get your take on some of these popular fitness myths because you probably hear these myths all the time, and it can be frustrating sometimes because if people just understood, it's like, this is for everyone. This is not something that is for elite athletes. In fact, it's quite the contrary. This is for the ordinary person in order to help them become better. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the social media hasn't done us any favors in terms of the reputation for CrossFit. The memes, I think, especially can scare a lot of people away, or sometimes the CrossFit Games, which are probably one of the most advertised components of CrossFit. But you're exactly right. CrossFit it's for anybody. It's probably not for everyone. I mean, some people are going to get in the gym and it's a hard workout, and you got to be ready for that. But it's under the right coaching and the right programming. It's absolutely safe and effective. And I mean, the two central tenets: off the carbs, off the couch, get a better diet and get some more quality movement in your life. And with that, those sort of guiding principles, I mean, I don't think that you're going to be led astray by any stretch of the imagination. So
Yeah, I agree. I think you're nicer than me, only because I tell people, I'm like, it is for everybody. It's just not for every mindset.
yeah,
And one of the reasons why I started doing it is because at 33 years of age, I was soft. I was soft, both mentally and physically. If you go back and look at some of my pictures, I'm like, I am embarrassed what I had become.
hmm
And the thing is, I never saw it. It's happened so slowly that I never saw it creeping up. But one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to get in great shape, but I also wanted to make myself tougher mentally. And that's one of the biggest things that it has done. And that's what I think in our society today, people are generally very soft. Can you see my camera or can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think you're frozen on the camera.
Okay, hold on.
But yeah, to your point, Nate, mental and physical toughness to me have always been two sides of the same coin. It's to think that you can be mentally tough without going through any sort of physical challenges or adversity. I just maybe it's out there. I haven't experienced it. A lot of um, I've seen hundreds of athletes build strong minds by going through hard practices, hard workouts, any range of physical challenges, and it's it's just part the physical workouts that they just build a discipline that's hard to develop elsewhere.
Yeah, can you hear me still?
I can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so for some reason my camera is just acting up, and but here's what I'm going to do. You're going to hear a silent voice, and then let's see if I can't get it up. You're going to hear a silent voice, and then it's going to be the Connor Show right now. So hopefully you can still see me, but I'm just going to be like the what's the movie with the guy behind the curtain?
Invisible
The
Man.
Wizard of Oz. So if you can't see me, then here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, and I'll have to figure out the camera situation a little bit later. So let's go over popular fitness myths, and I'm going to ask you the question of if you disagree or if you agree with this. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get
Okay,
it.
good. All right, here we go. Here's the first one. You're healthy if you have a six-pack. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay.
You can be.
Why is it a just a flat statement, meaning that the more defined abs you have, the healthier you are? That's something that you disagree with, correct?
Yeah, I'd say I disagree with that.
Okay, yes, because I always disagree, and I've caught a lot of flack for that. And you've actually done a lot of training in the past for CrossFit. Have you ever overtrained?
Oh, absolutely.
How did you feel when you overtrained?
It's weird because, like you said, you may have a six pack, but I'm sleeping at all hours of the day. Can't sleep at night. Um, Very strange or little to no appetite. Um, Getting weaker by the day, even though you're training and you're at the time I wasn't even working, so I had basically 24 hours a day to totally recover from workouts. But the yeah, the volume of the training I was doing, it was just absolutely too much to handle. And it wears you down over time. So yeah, even though the pictures might look like, oh wow, that guy's in great shape, behind the scenes it's a different story. So
Yes, absolutely. I know it's I have followed I've looked at some fitness influencers, especially when they're doing like a competition for bodybuilding, and they're currently in a cut trying to get as lean and as low body fat as possible. And then they talk about, they say this is actually not healthy. They say
right.
it's not healthy. I don't feel very good. And you actually will see their hormones tank. And so there's a lot of women who will run into menstrual cycle issues when they get too low of body fat. So it's definitely not something that you want to hang out in, even for men too, for a long period of time. So here's the next one. Let's do this one. Agree or disagree? You need 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week.
Disagree.
Now, are you going against the World Health Organization?
If that's their mantra, then I'm against it.
Yeah. So you look at the CDC, you look at the World Health Organization, and they say you have to do 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. Let me ask you a question. What's the average amount of exercise of exercise activity when you're talking about conditioning, not weightlifting, but you're talking about cardiovascular type of conditioning? How many hours or how many minutes on average per week, if an athlete came to your gym and let's say went 5 days a week, how many minutes would they actually spend conditioning?
Maybe 60 to 75. That's
Yeah,
if
I
you
agree with that. And I have actually said that, hey, I only do like about 60 minutes of conditioning per week. And people are like, you're going to get cardiovascular disease. You know, and I'm like, but you don't know what I do during that 60 minutes. And I tell people what I do in 60 minutes is probably 2.5 times the amount that you are doing in 150 minutes. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So it's not the minutes, it's actually how much work you're performing during that amount of time. So anytime that someone says, let's just put a minute on it, I'm like, it should actually be a how much work output that you have been doing. And that's why the whole 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, most like it's that comes out to a lot of time. And I'm like, you should be spending that time instead of doing some kind of weight training and then just get
Right.
more bang for your buck by doing high intensity type exercise and things like that. But yeah,
Right.
the World Health Organization has never, ever, ever been wrong. All right, here's the next one, kind of parlaying into what we said last time. Running is the best way to get into shape.
This one I totally disagree with, and it's close to home because in 2017 I had done CrossFit for 3 or 4 months. That was my first run at it, and I stopped doing CrossFit because I was under the impression that running would actually get me in better shape, and so I started running a lot and got quite fast. Was putting in a lot of miles. I had like could do a sub 5:30 mile, but was mainly doing longer distances. And at the same time, my health profile deteriorated. So it's I was thin and tan and lean, but if you asked me to help move a couch, I wouldn't be the most useful guy in the room. And I'll spare you the details, but the health effects from it weren't exactly something I would sign up for again either.
Yeah, I from the time that I actually graduated from chiropractic school until I was 33 years of age, I used to run probably 15 miles a week, and I was not in good shape, and I was also had very soft muscles, and I was kind of overweight. Actually, I was very overweight.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people think I need to run, but once they discover there's so many different things that you can do in order to achieve any kind of cardiovascular fitness, that running is actually a very, very small part of it. And in fact, guess what the most injurious sport is that people do in order to get in shape? Guess what it is?
What's that?
It's running.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
more,
it's
you
not
have a
surprising.
higher percentage of an injury from running than you actually do in other types of sports. And in fact, a lot of times people say CrossFit is dangerous or it's going to get you hurt. Actually, any sport will get you hurt. That's the thing. Any sport can get you hurt, especially if you're doing it incorrectly. And there's a lot of people that go out and run in order to get in shape. And if you look at their gait and you look at their stride, it is absolutely horrible. And they're actually just setting themselves up for injury. And in fact, if you want to be a better runner, what should you do? This is a shameless plug for your gym. If you want to be a better runner, a better 5K, or be a better half marathoner or marathoner, what should you do?
Well, Louis Simmons is famous in the strength world, and he gave us the answer: manage your running volume, which means run less, and get some stronger hamstrings, and you're going to go faster.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, numerous people have been like, yeah, once I got my squat a lot heavier, I was able to run a lot faster. And it wasn't just becoming a better runner, it was becoming a stronger runner,
Hmm.
especially. So leading into that, what about this one? Squatting is bad for your knees.
Yeah, this one was pervasive for a long time, and I feel like some people on social media are starting to help walk this one back, knees over toes guy, and sort of things in that channel. But um, squatting is bad for your knees. Being weak is bad for your knees.
Yeah.
When you can take 225 pounds and squat all the way butt to your ankles and stand it back up under total control, I would be willing to bet that you're not going to have any trouble with your knee pain. Um,
Yeah, that's when people's like, I can't squat because I have bad knees. I'm like, you have bad knees because you don't squat. And so
right.
when people are like, I don't want to squat, I have bad knees. I'm like, well, then don't get off of a toilet. Don't
Yeah.
that a lot of people can't do. Hold on.
Yeah,
There
and
you
it's
go. Yeah.
is it a symptom or a cause? Um, if you've taken the time to really train the muscles around your knees and below the knee, and you're still having knee pain, then I might give you some, I maybe there's something there, but um, yeah, I mean, it's an investment to get in the gym, to learn how to squat properly, develop the mobility, develop the positional strength. That takes time, and it's a lot harder to do that than to just say, I can't squat, I've got bad knees, or write it
Yeah.
off. Or,
You'll spend your whole life perfecting your squat. But here's what's so interesting is that I did a mission trip in Southeast Asia to like Vietnam, and I was in Singapore. And if you've ever looked at the toilets, there's no toilets there. There's basically a toilet seat with a hole in the ground. And in
mm-hmm.
order for you to have a bowel movement, you better be able to squat all the way down with perfect form. And what's interesting is that I saw people that were 75, 80 years of age that could squat perfectly.
Wow.
And actually they would hang out in that position instead of sitting in a chair. They would squat. They would be in a squat position just on the side of the street, and they would do that. That was the most comfortable position for them. So when people say squatting is bad for your knees, I'm like, the reason why it probably hurts is because you just haven't done it enough, and anything that you don't do is eventually going to hurt you. But rather than push through it, a lot of people just they start to shy away from doing the
Mm-hmm.
things that are actually going to make them better. So squatting is actually very, very good for knees, but you have to do it correctly. That's the other thing. Moving into this one, agree or disagree, CrossFit will get you injured and is too hard.
Disagree. Yeah, I mean, it's the same sort of principles as the squatting. I mean, squatting is a foundational movement in CrossFit. Um, the I mean, to start in CrossFit, the first thing you're going to do is learn technique, and then you're going to add some repetition to it, and only then do we ramp up the intensity. But I think part of the perception is that you're going to be thrown into a CrossFit gym, somebody's going to yell at you, and you're playing dodgeball with dumbbells, or something like along those lines. I think that's what people imagine as a typical CrossFit class. But if you go to a CrossFit gym, and there's a lot of great CrossFit gyms out there. I was just in California the last week. We looked up the closest one to our Airbnb, 5 minutes away. We dropped in there. Some super knowledgeable coaches. We spend 10, 15 minutes working on mobility, Then we go through a short strength component. They show you the technique. They're watching you the whole time, spotting, correcting the movement patterns. I mean, that perception, I think, is just it's a little outdated. I mean, go to a CrossFit gym and see what it's about before you just write it off as it's going to get you hurt and it's too hard.
Yeah, it's so true about a lot of things. A lot of people will have a predetermined set of beliefs just based on what someone told them without having any personal experience. I know I deal with this all the time. Do you know how many times on social media someone says it's not true because you're not a quote unquote real doctor? And I'm like, okay, well, if I looked up and I said the sky is blue, are you going to say that's not true? You're not a meteorologist. There's truth
Yeah.
and there's not.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have, what they're going to do is they're going to look at their preconceived ideas and then they're going to try to find stuff in order to fit that. And I'm like, why don't you just actually go and experience it? So CrossFit doesn't get you injured. Any sport or any kind of fitness movement is going to get you injured, specifically if you don't know how to train. And is it too hard? It's too hard if you're coming in with the wrong mindset. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, listen, you can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. Is it easy? No, it's not easy, but you don't want it to be. And one of the biggest things that I found is that the biggest change that actually occurred was actually between my ears. That was the biggest change. And that's what kept me going. And have I had some injuries? Yes. I've beat up my shins a couple of times on box jumps. And yes, I've had some injuries, but a lot of the injuries were actually my fault. They weren't the coach's fault. They were my fault from being careless or overtraining or things like that, which is certainly can happen in every single fitness movement, especially. And CrossFit isn't more injurious. That's why it goes back to is when people decide that they're going to start running and train for a marathon and tell me how many people get injured training for that marathon because of just the poor running mechanics and just the volume of running that it requires in order to be able to, get ready for a marathon. I've even had people who said, yeah, I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to CrossFit 3 to 4 times a week. And I'm going to do just one long run per week. And they end up beating their marathon time by an hour to an hour and a half, only because they're a stronger runner and they're a more efficient runner as a result.
Wow. Yeah. The idea that you need to run 4 times a week to get faster is just a misconception. I mean, if you and I found this out the hard way myself. I got up to I was trained. I was going to do a marathon. I got up to my 18-mile run and got a stress fracture in my left foot and was in a boot for I think a little over 2 months. And I can tell you in that time, there was absolutely no fitness going on. So the fastest way to not be in shape is to get injured.
There you go. Yeah. And that's why really one of the philosophies of CrossFit is let's get enough fitness so that you can grow, but you can also come back the next day, not to absolutely obliterate your body so that you're in bed for 3 to 4 days after that. So I agree with that. Agree or disagree. You need to earn that dessert. Have you ever heard of anyone say, oh, now I can go to Culver's after this workout?
Yeah, I hear it with this and with alcohol and going out to eat and that sort of thing. It's not something that resonates with me all that much. Having part of CrossFit is no sugar, right? It's a very low, simple carbohydrate diet, and so I stopped eating. We'll just call it junk a while ago, and I never even really crave or want dessert. If a waiter comes to the table and if we've eaten out or somebody has cake after family dinner, I look at it and no interest. So I think if you're feeling like you're needing to earn the dessert, we should probably look at the craving and the addiction to the sugar, and start there. It's
you hear this so often is like, oh, I'm working out so that I can, drink alcohol or I can really let loose this weekend or I can let loose tonight. And you don't actually burn that many calories when you're working out.
Right.
If you actually looked at how many calories are you burning during a CrossFit workout, I mean, it may be between 100 to 200 if you're doing a short metabolic conditioning workout. But the
Mhm.
change is actually the physiological change that takes place. It's not how many calories that you were burning. And I did it when I did a video to actually promote this. And I said, it takes 2 minutes to eat a Butterfinger, and it'll take you 2 hours to burn it off. And you don't have that amount of adrenal energy to always have to burn that off. I
Right.
mean, you only have so much energy that you can spend during your workout, and that's why you can never ever outrun a good diet. But when you talk about CrossFit talks about, hey, eat meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, um, a little bit of fruit. You want your carbohydrate intake to be able to sustain your exercise, but not so much that it is actually promoting body fat.
Yep.
And that's why you don't necessarily need a ton of carbs. And that's when I tell people, like, how many carbs should I be getting a day? I'm like, enough to be able to sustain some high intensity exercise. And that may only be 70 to 80 grams of carbohydrates in a day.
Right.
And so, but a lot of people are getting 8 to 900 grams
Yep.
sometimes that they don't even realize it. And then
Yeah.
they're trying to burn it off through exercise, and they realize it's a never ending cycle that just the dessert always wins in the end. So
Yeah. The one thing I'll add to that is the you also just don't have that much time, and people are busy with jobs and kids and other responsibilities, and you eat that Butterfinger, and man, that's a lot of time that should be going to other places. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, if I could give one piece of diet advice, it'd be cut down on the sugar and save yourself the hassle.
Yeah, I agree too. How about this one, Connor? Sit-ups are the best way to train your core.
Yeah, you might think that until you start squatting or deadlifting and feel what that does for you. Um, you may like sit-ups may make you sore. They may make your abs sore, but if you want to have a strong core, um, well, we can reverse engineer this. You're not going to be able to pick up 500 pounds off the floor and by having a weak core.
That's
Uh,
true. Yeah. So everybody thinks that their abs are their core, but their abs are actually, I mean, their core is their abs and their hip flexors and their butt. And then there are spinal erectors. It's everything that's used in order to brace your spine under load, which means if you do want to pick up 500 pounds, you better have all of those muscles better be strong in order to stabilize the spine under load. And sit-ups just don't do that. Everybody thinks, oh, I want to do it because I want to get abs. And I'm like, actually, if you want abs, then cut out the sugar.
yeah, right. They're
But
made
if
in the
you actually
kitchen.
want a strong core, then you should be. What are some of the exercises? If someone said, I want a strong core, what should they be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I would start with some deadlifts and squats. Um, those would be my two go-to. The core movements. The and when as you add weight, you're gonna feel your core being that much stronger. You're gonna feel and then like you said, that's everything. That's your body's ability to maintain an erect spinal position, and resist the load in front of you or on your shoulders wanting to hunch you over. But yeah, spend some time squatting and deadlifting, learning the core lifts, and I can guarantee your core strength is going to go way up.
Yeah, I agree too. Those are probably the biggest things. And you literally anything like, I said, hey, go inverted on your hands and let me
Yeah,
see how much the spine, the core has to contract. Or carry some water jugs, some 5 gallon water jugs, in both hands, and let me know what happens with your core when you're in it. Or do like slow down time and do a plank.
yeah,
He wants time. If people said time goes by so quickly, I'm like, just do a plank, and that will
yeah,
be the longest minute of your life. So there's so many different things that you can do instead of just of doing sit-ups. But a lot of times people just resort to that because they don't know how much more there actually is. All right, the next one. Agree or disagree? More exercise is better.
Yeah, this is a big disagree. I mean, we touched on this a little bit already. The with the 150 minutes, quality over quantity and intention are going to be your best friend here. Then I think this is a trap that people kind of get into, and it goes back to the running scenario. But you want to get in shape, and you maybe don't know where to start, and so you walk outside in your gym shoes, and you start pounding the pavement, and you feel like, hey, if I do more of that, eventually I'm going to be in great shape. And while I love the tenacity from that, um, the practicality of getting into great shape like that is just not there. The to get in, and it takes an hour, 4 maybe 5 times a week, and you can have world class fitness.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a 2 hour run on a Saturday and two more 45-minute runs at 8 p.m. during the week.
Yeah. I when people say how long do you spend in the gym, and I'm like, I go in for like an hour. It's not an hour of fitness, but it's, warming up, mobility, maybe some strength, a short workout that may only be anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Um, but and then sometimes I'll literally go into the gym and just warm up and just do it, and it's 15 minutes, and I'm like in and out the door in like 25. So anybody
Yeah.
is like, they're like, I don't have time to do it, and I'm like, that's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I am in full time practice. I have 4 kids. One of them is 7 months old. I'm like, I've already been to a football game today, and and running kids around to practice. I'm like, everyone has that time. It's just they don't want to. They don't want to look for it.
Yeah.
When you want to do something, you find a way, and when you don't, then you always are going to find an excuse. But people fall in the trap of saying, oh, well, if I do it this amount, then maybe doubling it will get me twice as good. But then they do fall into that whole idea of overtraining, which I certainly have done. I know that, speaking to you, you've overtrained in the past as well. And so you need to find that sweet spot of saying enough to stimulate growth, but not so much that it causes you to go backwards or causes you not to be able to recover from.
Right. And the going on the more exercise is better, your stress bucket is it's not just exercise that goes into that.
Yep.
So any sort of stress in your life is filling up the bucket a little bit. And if you're maxed out with with family and a job, and your stress is boiling over, and then you try to throw in just to use an extreme example like an Ironman training, that's just not gonna it's not gonna be productive for you. So
Yep.
and that's why that a 10 to 15 minute conditioning workout is perfect. It's short, hormetic stress. You get in, warm up, hit it, head out.
Yep. Yep. Okay. The next one. If I lift weights, I'm going to look like a man. Do you ever hear this from women?
Yeah, and or I don't want to look bulky
Yep.
is another spin-off of that. I think social media has propagated that image that if you go in and lift it all, you're going to be jacked, and that is just so far from the truth. First of all, the angles are a big factor in the way that it's presented to you on social media. Second of all, to look what you would characterize as jacked or buff or bulky, or for women to look like a man, requires an incredible amount of discipline, strength training over years, and maybe a few other things in there too. But
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of exogenous hormones
yeah,
too.
yeah. So we're not even close to that. What we're talking about is just um, getting a good sweat, get some quality movement in your life, shedding a few pounds, maybe adding a little bit of muscle. But
Yep.
yeah, for most, for by and large, for most people, what you see on Instagram or the bulky look is just not even in the realm of possibility.
No, and it really isn't, only because physiologically a woman has about a 15. If you actually took a physiologically healthy male, because we actually do see a lot of males whose testosterone is very low. But if you look at someone who a metabolically physiologically healthy male, let's say his testosterone is at about 600, 650, 700, which is very good. Naturally, it's possible. You look at the average woman's testosterone is usually at about 30. So, we were talking about 20 times less the amount of testosterone. And so when a woman says, yeah, I put on muscle really easy, I'm like, or like, if you really do, there might be something hormonal that might be very wrong about you as well. But you're not going to look like a man if you lift weights. So if a man lifts weights, he'll become more masculine. But if a woman lifts weights, very hard in order to put on a lot of muscle mass with that. And, and this is actually even for my wife. She is very strong, like very
Yeah.
strong. She's been able to jerk 200 pounds like over her head. And at no point did she ever look like a man.
Right.
And it's impossible. And I think that a lot of people think that as soon as they look at a weight or they just touch it, there's some kind of magical, some wizard that's going to turn them into a man if that happens. But most of the things that they see that they don't want to look like, those women are taking exogenous hormones, which I obviously don't recommend. And here's the last one. You lose muscle mass as you age, meaning as you get older, you're supposed to lose muscle mass. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I think you might be a little better positioned. Like you said, you think you started CrossFit at 33 and have been hitting PRs ever since. So, you're a case in point that you don't have to lose muscle mass just as you get older. And actually, a lot of for people who are starting off in a really deconditioned state, any little bit of lifting you do is going to gain a little muscle mass.
Yep.
So it's not a one-way street. There's no principle where if you hit 40, all of a sudden your mind and body are downhill from there. It's I see people come into the gym every day, sometimes with very little exercise experience, and over time they lose body fat, they get stronger, they put on a little muscle mass, and they're all sorts of ages, 40, 50, 30s, doesn't matter. They respond in a very similar way. It may take a little more or less time for some people, but I wouldn't count yourself out just yet.
Yeah, that it's so interesting because I know that I've actually have trained people in their 60s and gotten them, to a point of building enough muscle mass to be able to like climb a rope, like
Yeah.
climb a 15-foot rope of
Yeah.
people in their 60s. I've seen people in their 70s go from deadlifting 95 pounds over 300. And this is actually propagated a lot by just like the medical community, meaning you're just going to lose muscle mass as you age. And it's been taught that, once you hit 40, everything is behind you. Just, go quietly in the night. And it's just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And I think one of the cool things about CrossFit is that they're saying, I disagree about that. Let's redefine truly what healthy aging looks like. And I don't even think that we've even seen it yet. And I know like even for me, people will tell me, oh, just wait until you get to be 50. But I'm like, you told me that wait till you get to 30 and then wait till you get to be 40. And now you're telling me wait till you be 50. And yes, I can't do quite as much as I could when I was 25 years of age, but I can still do a lot more than most 25s, the average 25-year-old now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you keep doing it, I think that as long as you're staying metabolically healthy, I think that you can maintain a high amount of muscle mass into your 60s, especially. Now, don't get me wrong, you get to be 80 or 90 years of age. And yeah, you're going to start to see that start to decline. However, people think that it's supposed to decline when you're in your 30s and 40s. And I just don't think that that's true as well. You lose muscle mass because you become sedentary. Any muscles will adapt to a sedentary lifestyle. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with age. It's just your activity level, and you're not stressing the muscles and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're there's no standing still. You're moving forward or you're moving back. So
I agree.
if
I agree with
you're losing muscle mass and you're at any age, you should be asking, why is this happening to me, and what do I need to do to turn that in the other direction?
Yeah, it is just about getting into the gym and putting in some strength training, doing some conditioning. I truly believe that CrossFit is the best about, I mean, really about that. When you look at the programming, look at the strength. And when I am working, with someone, especially, I had an individual who is properly medically managed and still a type 2 diabetic. And and I said, here's what I want you to do for fitness right now, only because his blood sugars are so out of control. We're going to change his diet so much that I know that adding in high intensity exercise is going to feel pretty miserable trying to do both at the same time. But I looked at him and I said, hey, within this time frame, here's how I want you to be training. Because when you do work out at a high intensity, you make your muscles and your liver so much more sensitive to sugar, to glucose. And I'm like, if you can start working out that way, you can make your liver, you can make your muscle cells less insulin resistant. But here's someone who's been a diabetic for 20 years, and not one time has any doctor medically said, here's how you should be exercising. Yet CrossFit actually has the answer to that. And many times people are reversing blood sugar issues and insulin sensitivity issues just by the way that they are working out.
Yeah. What I love about that is, about your point there is, it's not about swallowing a pill or, getting some injection or something like that. Maybe that's part of it. Obviously, I'm in the fitness world. I'm not in the medical profession, but I tend to err on the side of the advice that's like, hey, we can do something about this, but it's going to take a little investment from your end.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to give up a couple hours of your week, maybe cancel the Netflix subscription and fork out a few bucks for a gym membership, and then on top of all that, you're gonna have to get in there and put in some work, and that sort of thing just resonates me as something that makes sense in terms of improving your health and fitness. It's like,
Yeah.
it's going
Nobody
to
at the end of their day is like laying on their deathbed and saying, you know what, I really wish that I would have caught that last Netflix movie.
yeah,
Or I would have had a little bit more Big Mac. I
yeah,
really missed out on that. You know what they say? They have the regret or saying, if I would have known if I would have known that they were going to keep me alive this long, I probably should have taken better care, of myself, and actually taking care of the human frame is so important.
mhm,
That's one of the reasons why we asked for you to be at the I Disagree event with Dr. Patrick Flynn. Guys, this is coming up October 24th, 2023, 6 to 9 p.m. 5 to 6 is going to be actually the vendor showcase. You guys can come, and all of our different awesome vendors. I know that Connor will be there from CrossFit Exemplify. We got Brothers Nuts that are going to be there. I know that we have Illinois Thermography going to be there. I know we have Norwex going to be there, and also some other ones that we're securing for that event. You guys are going to have an awesome time. There's going to be giveaways at that. Make sure that you get your tickets, because we are coming up to literally 2 weeks from the I Disagree event. And it is coming up very, very quickly. People are registering right now as we speak. I can see that. And so, Connor, if people want to reach out to you, if they say, hey, I really, I want to start at the gym, I don't want to wait until the event, how can people get in contact with you?
Website's the best way, CrossFitExemplifyNorth.com. We've got a free consultation on there. Just go ahead and submit that form. Just captures your name, email, and phone number. I'll reach out. We'll set up a 15-20 minute sit down, see where you're at, and talk about how to get started. So it's simple. I mean, you go to the website, punch in your name, email, and phone number, and we're on our way. So yeah, if you want to get in touch, that's the easiest way to do it. Set up a free consult, meet at the gym, get caught up on a few things, and we'll get going from there.
Awesome. I left the link in the in the comments so that people can find that as well. Hopefully I put that in correctly too. It's www.crossfitexemplifynorth.com, correct?
That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Connor, it's been a pleasure. I apologize for my camera. It literally just pooped out and it sounded like it was burning.
Oh, man.
So I'm glad that you can still hear me. I'm just the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, just talking to myself here. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Connor, thank you for joining us from CrossFit Exemplify in Yorkville, Illinois. Guys, next week we'll also be doing another live, so stay tuned to that. Make sure that you follow our page. Make sure you like our page. Also follow CrossFit Exemplify North in Yorkville. Follow them on Instagram or on Facebook. And then they put out awesome content as well. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Connor, thank you for joining us again. Be well, be blessed, and remember who you are.
Thanks, Nate.